Hi. Today I'm going to talk about audience analysis. So why is audience analysis so important? First of all, for planning marketing campaigns, you want to know where your audience is coming from, so then you can target your marketing budgets to those countries or cities. You want to know their age, you want to know their gender, so you know which channels to use to catch them. And it's also very important if you work in the live music industry, because you want to know where your artist has the most fans coming from. Or if you're a promoter, let's say from Berlin, and if you see an artist who has 30,000 monthly listeners on Spotify coming out of Berlin, then you probably want to book that artist, because this is the audience that's going to be interested in purchasing a ticket. So if you're working in marketing, if you're working at a talent agency, or if you're managing an artist, or if you're promoting events, pay attention to what comes next. You can reach the audience tab from our secondary navigation. If you go to the upper right hand side on the screen. By the way, we don't all the time play football. It's just the post lunch session for my coworkers. So you go to the secondary navigation. On the top right hand side, you have a drop down, and on the templates you choose audience. So audience tab is joining the entire audience data set that we get out of all the channels that we analyze, and it's consolidating that data in one single dashboard. You have separate pieces of the audience in channel specific dashboards, but if you want to focus only on this particular KPI, then I would suggest going to the audience tab. So I'll take the weekend as an example. At the top, as usual on Viberate, you have a couple of recaps. So the top countries and the audience overview across the channels that we monitor. But the more you go down, the more granular the data gets. So let's first check the recap of the top locations. You can switch between country and city here. See how this changes. And you have different channels. So we measure audience from Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. It's important to point out that Viberate and all other analytics services only has access to audience level data, not the track level data, which means that we can only measure the location and the demographics of subscribers, not the engagement actions. So engagement actions are on a track level. So if you want to know where listeners from a particular track come from, or what age they are, any other demographic data, then you will need distribution level access. It's not public domain data, but still it answers a lot of questions. Here's a recap of the top locations by channel. If you want to know more about a certain channel, if you click see more, it'll just take you to the anchored part of that piece of information on the same dashboard, but we'll get there later. This is a very, very interesting display. So this shows the growth of Spotify monthly listeners or YouTube monthly views across different countries. So you can add or remove countries here. So if you click on X, it will remove a country, and then you can add a country here just by typing in the name, or just selecting the country from a drop down, and it will then pop up here. You can select the time frames here, or switch between countries and cities here. Why this is important? Because this lets you track the trend of the popularity of the artist. If you're planning a worldwide tour, so your artist is in the middle of a worldwide tour, you can track the effect of that tour city by city by typing in the cities from the tour, or the countries, almost live. So you can see if your artist is playing across Germany, you will just type in a bunch of German cities, depending on which date the concerts are, and to just see whether the popularity of your artist has been affected by their appearance in those particular cities or countries. So really, really interesting and important metric. Going down, you then have a different view. So you can select the country from a drop down. If we don't have any kind of data for a country, it will be gray, but you just select the country, and then we will do a breakdown city by city for that selected country. And again, you have monthly listeners, monthly views, and total followers, and then cumulative numbers for that country. Going down, this is where we got redirected from the recap section here. So if you click see more, it will take you here. So you have a country chart. So this is based on the popularity of the artist on Spotify. You can select YouTube, views, subscribers, and then followers on Instagram versus followers on TikTok. So you can rank according to any of those listed channels, or just leave it on the overall audience. But I want one interesting hypothesis I have on country level analysis. If you click on the city here, you'll often see Jakarta, Indonesia as one of the most prominent cities in terms of where the audience is coming from. And we're busting our minds. Why are all those big global superstars so popular in Indonesia, in Jakarta? I mean, it is a very big country, no doubt about that. But there are other massive countries in Asia, but Indonesia was always on the top. And our hypothesis is that those are actually Chinese listeners using Indonesian VPNs to access Spotify, which is blocked in China. But it's only a hypothesis. Okay, moving down. So you have country level analysis and then city level analysis. You see Jakarta on the top. And then moving away from the geolocation to the demographics. So the weekend has almost 50-50 ratio between males and females, and a slightly younger audience. So 18 to 24 and then 25 to 34. So we can say, okay, 18 to 34 years of age, that's the sweet spot. So why is this important? Because you want to target channels that mostly match the demographic profile of the audience of this artist. So this is a chart, and then you have a detailed breakdown of that same chart. And then finalizing the audience tab, we have notable followers. Those are not always necessarily musicians. If they are musicians, then you're going to have a link to their Viberate profile and some quick information, so their country and their main genre. And then you have the number of subscribers on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. This is a great resource if you want to engage in influencer marketing. So if you know that a certain influencer is already a follower or a fan of your artist, you can simply find them here, reach out to them saying, look, we have a new album out, or we have a concert in your city. If you want a meet and greet, or if you want an early access to the album, I don't know, make a shout out to your fans, and we can make a deal or whatever. But it's a great resource to see how you can reach out to massive amounts of fans through influencer marketing. So this is a highly used section on Viberate. So yeah, that wraps up the audience section, and yeah, see you next week. Thanks.